What's up, guys? It's Will with Basic Gear Review.
And I'm Chris.
And we're here counting down our top 10 favorite pedals of 2016. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. So my list begins in no particular order with the green Rhino by Way Huge. Released in 2016, the new Mark IV bears the same controls for volume, tone, drive, and 100 Hz, but with a new 500 Hz control, boosting or cutting your low mids by 12 dB. I really dug this overdrive for bass, surprisingly, even though it's for guitar. I thought it really cut through nicely, it gives you a real big full tone, and you can really hear your signal, like your original signal without having a blend knob, which is impressive.
Yeah, the pickups really shine through the pedal, and having that 100 Hz knob obviously is great, but the 500 Hz I think is the unsung hero I personally like it scooped, but I mean, you can boost it, kind of get that Jerry-only punk Misfits tone.
Yeah.
But it's a shockingly great drive.
Shocking. I love it. I love it.
Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, moving forward. Next up, I have got the DM2W Delay by Boss. As you can see, this pedal features all the great look and sound of the original DM2. An added feature on the DM2W is this little switch that takes you from standard mode to custom mode. In custom mode, you get a maximum of 800 milliseconds of delay time, up from the 300 millisecond maximum in standard mode. That's over twice the amount of delay time. This one I really like because it's got a really warm delay, like the feedback is real nice and warm and punchy, which I don't hear a lot in delays. I hear a lot of real tinny kind of delays, which is good in its own regard, but this is just so nice and refreshing for me that I dug it a lot.
Yeah, it's so distinct too. Like when you hear that, there's something about it that screams DM2. Like even on the TC's Alter Ego pedal, they had that kind of replicated tone in a digital way that even then they got really close. Like there's just that distinct, unmistakable
it's
sound.
Just punchy is the perfect word for it for me.
It's a great tone.
That's a good one. All right, onward. Next up we have the TE2 Terra Echo by Boss. This pedal was released a few years ago, and it's pretty special because it's Boss's 100th compact pedal. The TE2 is very unique. It's not exactly a delay and not exactly a reverb, but it's what Boss calls multi-dimensional processing technology. Boss has made the TE2 an extremely interesting delay/reverb/modulation pedal that will not only pique the interest of ambient musicians, but also satisfy the player searching for that out-of-the-ordinary sound. What really caught me is that this is just like so unique and it's so weird and you can't really pinpoint what it is, You can't put your finger on if it's a delay, if it's a reverb, if it's some kind of modulation, which I really enjoyed. It's just fun to play with.
Yeah, and that was one, I think you even said that in the video, delay, reverb, modulation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so unique and just not your expected typical tone that is just so fun.
And then the stereo just gives it a whole new thing that just makes it so fun. So that's cool. So this was a fun one. Okay, then we have, right here, the Vapor Trail by Seymour Duncan. Trail is an analog delay pedal that gives you those classic, gorgeous analog repeats, and also features a couple tricks up its sleeve that really set it apart from the competition. The jack on the left is one of the features that really makes the Vapor Trail special. You can use a TRS-Y cable to send your wet signal through its own chain of effects. Let's try a few different examples. The one thing I really dug about this pedal is that it can have its own effect loop, so you can really affect the tail however you want to do it without affecting your initial signal.
Yeah, especially when you run like we ran that phase 90 through it.
Oh,
that
yeah.
just has
that was
such a
great.
cool tone.
And then the octave or two gives it just such a gnarly. It's so
you can run
cool.
anything through it.
Yeah.
Like you can run a chorus through there. I personally like the phaser the most.
I really like the drive too. The drive was a really cool, weird, ethereal sound that it had. So this is always a winner. Moving up, we have got my favorite, one of my favorites, the Ditto Looper by TC Electronic. So this one, personally, if I could only have one pedal, this would be the one, because I can just like personally make so much stuff with this thing, and it's so much fun. And it's not like, you can't use it as a modulation. You can kind of use it in the middle of shows if you have a really good drummer, you know. But other than that, it's more of just like a personal thing. But I adore it. It's one of my favorite pedals.
Yeah, you are definitely the loop master when it comes to that. Like the stuff that he can do with just this short amount of time is just astounding. Where I kind of like do a little kick drum pattern and use it to rehearse. But live, Paul Gilbert does a thing where he'll put, you know, just a lick in there, and then he'll do his solo, and then he does the fake out with the teeth, but he steps on the ditto, and it sounds like he's ripping this sweet
See,
solo.
that's funny.
Yeah.
He also has the luxury of having really good bandmates, you know, so he can do that kind of stuff. Whereas we get a little bit too, you know, from the heart.
What click? What click are you talking about?
That's hilarious. All right, cool. Next up, we have the Dirty Robot by Digitech. This is a compact synth pedal with two separate voicings. You can switch between either of the voicings with the toggle switch up here. In the V1 setting, you get a traditional envelope synth. In V2, the Dirty Robot gives you a vocal formant synth. So this one was a lot of fun. This one, I love any kind of synth thing.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. And it's like, they kind of dialed in everything they've been trying to do the past few years, you know, that was kind of iffy. They really got it right. And it works really well for both guitar and bass, which I really like.
Yes, I was pleasantly surprised. I like it better on bass. I know they've been kind of running it as a guitar pedal. I've played guitar through it. It's fun. It just nails it on bass. And that vocal formant synth is so cool.
Oh,
Plus,
yeah. And it's like two pedals in one with the two different versions.
yeah, and it's probably got the coolest artwork out of all the ones that we chose.
Let's zoom in on that. Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. We can't really zoom because there's no cameraman over there. But
I'll B-roll a
we'll figure it out.
of
Just look at it closely is all I'm saying. All right, cool. Next up, oh, man. We got the secret weapon. We got the Boss LS2 line selector. The fifth mode is a bassist's best friend. This mode allows you to toggle between a blended mix of loops A and B and your typical bypass mode. This means you can use any pedal notorious for diminishing low end in your first loop and account for the missing bass by blending in a clean signal from your second. So this thing, you already know, this thing is my secret weapon. You can put absolutely any pedal you want with this thing and you can make it work on bass. And I adore that. That's the coolest thing ever. Like, you never need a blend knob ever again. Because you got this.
Letting that dry signal run through, like you have it run in your personal board with a DS1. And it just sounds stellar.
It's killer. And then I got a big muff on there too, so you run those together and it gives it a real crazy hard clip sound, but you keep all that fundamental low end underneath with that loop B. Oh, it's a beautiful pedal.
And we have to quickly give respect and a shout out to Jeremy Gardner from Roland. He is the Ventura County rep. Was gracious enough to give us this free of charge. So Jeremy, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and it's being put to great use if that makes you feel better. Perfect, moving on. We have now, this is another fun one. We got the Helix Phaser by TC Electronic. Welcome back to Basic Gear Review. I'm Will, and today we're looking at the TC Electronic Helix Phaser. This pedal is true bypass and features stereo ins and outs, but will also run in mono. With 4 controls and 3 phaser settings, this just might be the most flexible and versatile phaser ever made. So this is like, there's so much to say about this. You can do everything. It's like the most futuristic yet the most vintage sounding phaser I've ever used in my life. You could do everything. It's so cool. And the smooth is so, like, it's a perfect name, smooth. It's beautiful. Absolutely. It's so nice and dreamy. And the tone print, like, don't even get me started. You can do absolutely anything. So this pedal is amazing. I love it.
In my personal opinion, probably the best phaser on the market, because you get your 4-stage vintage, and if I'm not mistaken, the smooth is an 8-stage. But through tone print, you can go as far as a 12-stage.
Yeah, which is
if you want to get real nutty.
That's super cool. That's super cool. So yeah, this is a great pedal. TC makes awesome stuff. Alrighty, next I have, we're almost done here. Now this, the Filter Twin by Aguilar. This thing is relatively new to my arsenal. It's actually the newest pedal I have, and it's probably one of my favorites. I have a lot of people who really like the MXR envelope filter, but for me, this thing really does it. It really keeps your tone. It keeps it unified. The thing I thought about the MXR was that it kind of, you can tell when it clamps your signal and when it lets go, whereas this one, it's real smooth, and when you're not playing really dynamically, you know, you can really tell, you can't really tell that this is on, which is kind of what I like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So you can punch it through without it really affecting your tone too much.
No disrespect to Electro Harmonics, but that is everything the Bassballs wants to be. Now, granted, you know, Bassballs is good for simple, but I mean, if you really want to get like to tweak that twin filter and everything about it, that thing is just astounding.
For the price too.
Yeah.
It's not bad. That's the other thing about the Bassballs, is for the Bassballs price, that thing
coming
hits
in at 71 versus
that's unbelievable.
$199,
so
but you get what you pay for.
You
clearly.
definitely, everything by Aguilar, in my opinion, you get what you pay for. They make a great product. So this one's always good. And it's nice and heavy. I really like that.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like it's going to break something. All right. And last but not least for me is going to be the Cliff Burton Power Fuzz Wah by Morley. What's up, everyone? I'm Will with Basic Gear Review, and today we're checking out the Cliff Burton Tribute Power Fuzz Wah by Morley. This thing is amazing. Granted, I think you kind of have to be a Metallica fan or like a fan of really gnarly sounds to like this pedal because it really gets crazy. Especially the wah, that frequency sweep can be a little much for people. But I like freaking people out sometimes, so I like keeping this thing on my board because it's amazing.
It's got a huge sweep. I personally liked the modern fuzz setting when you really like roll that intensity up and just make it larger than life.
Exactly.
It's like a woolly mammoth of tone.
Really, honestly, it's killer. And the vintage is nice. It's got that the hard clip, which is real cool if you're looking for that, which is my personal preference. And the separate level knobs are nice too because you can really get crazy with the wah. So having a separate knob for that is beautiful. And
I do also like, you know, the Crybaby has that switch that you got to really toe down. I kind of like having the switch on the side. It's just a nice change of pace.
So you can kind of keep it cocked wherever you want it to come in where you please, as opposed to always coming out of the wah, which is nice. So yeah, that's my top 10. Let's move on to Chris's.
By the way, for those who don't know, I am I guess I'd technically be the producer.
Yeah.
I edit all the video. I write some of the scripts. Pretty much if it's not bass playing and talking, it's me.
Yeah, I'd say I'm the face, he's the brain.
Okay, so for my list, we actually kind of lined up on quite a bit. And I noticed when I put my list together, one thing that went into it is which pedals did we like so much that we bought?
Which are a lot of them.
A lot of them. Like we just did the video and thought, this is so cool, we have to have it. So I kind of went as close as I could to order of how much I liked it. So up first would definitely be Boss LS2.
Beautiful.
I mean, it's not necessarily an effect, but it's a tool, and it is the most useful tool that you could arguably have. I mean, obviously compressors are tried and true, but this is just amazing for what you can do for $100. You can do so many things. I love this. So this is going on our master board when we get there.
Hitting it out of the park, boss.
Number 2, again, Green Rhino, way huge. I am desperately in love with this drive tone. It's just, and the one thing we didn't talk about is the Mark IV I liked a lot better than the Mark II.
Oh yeah.
Because the 500 is beautiful. Just fantastic.
But what's cool about the Mark IV is that you do have the setting to go back to the classic if you really do like that
the classic is nice.
That's nice.
But that obviously the Mark II has the 100, so no surprise there. But that 500 control is priceless.
Great.
So that's another
master board.
We'll deliberate that later.
Right.
Okay. Also, one of my top Cliff Burton Power Fuzz Wah. This thing is, I remember I think when we did this, you're like, I don't know what I like about it, but I like it.
Yeah, it just cuts deep into your soul.
Crazy. Like, and plus, I mean, I'm a long Metallica fan. Been since I was like 6 years old. Anything Metallica, I'm going to go fanboy over, but taking that out of account, the tone in this is just so cool and so jaw-dropping that it can't not make the list.
Completely agree.
So that's another master.
That's gonna take up the whole board.
Okay, next up, Vapor Trail, Seymour Duncan. See, we are so already in sync with this list. Granted, yes, the tones, I wouldn't say are anything necessarily a step above something like the Carbon Copy, DM2, any of the Way Huge, Super Puss. Really, that TRS function is so what sets this apart. Plus, I do appreciate the blinking LED on the delay. That's really nice. Yeah. I have to be honest. When we did this video, we did not do the best job of showcasing the rate and depth.
Yeah,
control.
We sometimes make the mistake of not learning enough about the pedal before we do the video. We just grab it off the shelf.
Yeah, but I mean, granted, we got some good tones out of it. If you own this or are planning on owning this, having the rate and depth maxed, you won't really hear a lot of modulation. But for example, you have the rate 10 or 11 o'clock, depth depth at max, it's seasick. I mean, you're going to want to turn it down. So just fair warning for if you get this. This is definitely another top. Okay, also, filter twin. We are so in sync. It's not even funny.
We should have just made the master list right away. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about this that we haven't already said. This thing was just fantastic. And it was really fun meeting Dave out at Bass Player Live and having him demonstrate for us. They have so many good products. It's not even funny.
They really do. They don't even have to try. They're just like, you play with it. I don't have to speak. You do it. You'll figure out what's good about it. So they make some good stuff. We got an Aguilar amp on the way, too.
Secrets. Favorite phaser of all time, Helix phaser. Big shout out to Morton from TC. This thing is phenomenal. Highly recommend.
Especially on slab bass. It's just amazing. It's the next best thing to a filter, in my opinion, when it comes to slab.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
But you can get Leslie tones out of it. You can.
Exactly.
It's got so many.
The beauty of tone print. You could do absolutely anything. It's unbelievable.
Okay, now this is where the video gets exciting because this is where we fall out of sync. Another great pedal is the Ampeg FC RDI.
With a 3-band parametric EQ, an independent drive circuit, and Ampeg's signature ultra-low and ultra-high switches, the SC-RDI is just a stomp away from those classic SVT and Portaflex tones.
Big shout out to Dino Monoxylus. We won this at Bass Player Live. We entered in the drawing, and we were fortunate enough to win it. And I love Ampeg tones, especially with I mean, really slight mid scoop or slight mid boost. They're just so drastically different. They're both great, but I am a sucker for that ultra low, ultra high combo. Being a huge Getty fan, just that tone. I think it was Counterparts was the one.
Yeah, Counterparts is where it started getting real DI type of sound, real big and clanky. It's beautiful.
But with this, I mean, the functionality of, you have the XLR, you have the line out, the headphone, and you can run it into the amp. So let's say you're running, like a Fender amp, nothing against Fender, but you might need that Ampeg tone. This does it. This thing is awesome.
Yeah, that thing is amazing.
And it's weighty.
It's really, which for me is always, I love that. It just feels like such a reliable piece of, equipment. It's nice.
Yes, it's not going to break on you. Okay, next up, Pitchfork by Electro-Harmonix.
In momentary mode, the effect is only on while the foot switch is depressed, and when it's released, the pitchfork goes into bypass. When the bypass foot switch is pressed, the pitchfork jumps from bypass to the interval set by the shift knob.
This one we bought immediately.
Instantly. I'm surprised I didn't have that on my list, to be honed. I must just forgot about it.
Yeah, I am. Because you own this one.
Yeah, that one's on my board at all times.
This belongs to Will. I love, my personal favorite is to do the latch mode and just go, get that Tom Morello kind of thing. I mean, granted,
without having to have a huge whammy on your board, you condense it to a little tiny pedal, so that's nice.
See, another oopsie we did, there's an expression input that you can actually do whammy functionality. We just didn't have an expression pedal at the time. But this is definitely fantastic.
Yeah, that thing is killer.
This is not going to go
Plus,
on
not to mention, it's a filter matrix as opposed to tracking, so when you play, it is spot on. There's absolutely no lag time, so that's a beautiful thing when it comes to any kind of pitch shifting,
Yes, absolutely. Okay, next up, Dirty Robot. Big surprise here, not. This thing is just so cool. I mean, again, there's not much we can say that we haven't already said. It just sounds so good.
I'm so impressed by Digitech lately. Like, they really are ramping it up. They
amazing. Have upped their game. They're getting onto that kind of retro stomp box thing, getting out of those 80s you know,
Rack
what was
unit, big multi-effect
Yes.
pedal type things, which are cool in their own right, but nowadays, you know, people are really digging a pedal board as opposed to a unit.
And I didn't technically appreciate when they kind of did that Boss body in the early to mid 90s.
Oh, like the death metal pedal, that kind of stuff?
What was the bass synth wah?
Yeah, the bass synth wah.
Good
also had it.
tones, but I just, this is just so much cooler.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, aesthetic has to go into,
Most
into
definitely.
some decisions.
Most definitely,
you know?
got to have a pretty board.
That's on the master for sure. And lastly is the Ibanez Paul Gilbert Airplane Flanger. This one I was torn between this and the Spark, because the Spark is a great pedal.
Plus, it's another one we walked away with instantly. Like,
Yes.
we finished the video and walked out of the store with it, so
Absolutely.
you got to keep that in mind.
But with this one, I love out of the ordinary, surprise you sounds,
Oh, yeah.
and this does it.
It does it better than anything.
Yes.
It's amazing.
But on the flip side, you also can get traditional tones
Usable
if you
things.
need it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this on this taxi side, you got the standard 4 controls that you can dial in some really cool flange or chorus tones, or you can get nutty with the takeoff side, or get nutty with both and toggle between the two.
Yeah.
This thing is definitely fantastic.
What's nice is that it's really easy to control, too. It doesn't get too daunting, because I've noticed with a lot of pedals that get seasick quickly, it's kind of scary. You don't know what to turn and when to turn it. Whereas this one, you can really tell, like, oh, that's a little too far.
Yeah.
I'll keep the manual right about here, you know, the enhance, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that thing is amazing. I love that pedal.
Yes. Okay, now we have the seemingly simpler than anticipated task of building our master top 10 list.
Oh, man.
So there are 6 that we did not agree on.
I think that the hardest part is going to be fitting everything onto this little
Yeah.
pedal train.
That might not work, but
We'll see.
you'll get it. Okay, so out of these that we have agreed on, what is the best?
I think we're both going to have to agree on the Way Huge Green Rhino, because we both had only great things to say about it.
Yes.
You know, and that was like at the top of both of our lists. So
Okay, so at the number 1 position is the Way Huge Green Rhino.
ironically enough, not even a bass pedal happens to be the winner of our pedal. That's awesome. That's just kudos to you, Way Huge.
Yes.
Thanks, George.
What do we want for number 2?
Number 2, now this is where it gets tricky. I personally am going to have to go with the LS2 just because of its versatility and what it can do. It's not necessarily like amazing standout pedal, but just it makes my tone what it is, so I'm going to have to punch that in at number 2.
I'm so good with that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's the secret weapon.
So coming in number 2, we got the LS2 line selector by Boss.
Number 3.
See, now this is where it starts to get tough. Like everything
Yeah.
should land at number 3 in my opinion.
I'm going to vote number 3 should either be the Vapor Trail or the Filter Twin. Because, you know, everybody needs a delay
I agree.
and a filter. But which one?
Based on versatility again, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Vapor Trail, 3rd place, and then maybe Filter Twin 4 right after it.
I'm into that.
I'm cool with that then.
3rd place, Vapor Trail by Seymour Duncan. 4th place, Filter Twin by Aguilar.
Beautiful. All right.
Okay,
Almost
now
halfway there.
we were almost there. We got the Cliff Burton Wah, the Helix Phaser, and the Dirty Robot.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to say, simply because I can't put it higher because we put everything else, I'm gonna have to say the Helix comes next for me. Because
Yeah.
I would want that to be higher, but it's just got such good contenders in front of it that it's,
Yeah, and
you know.
plus, you know, to put it in front of the Cliff Burton, everybody can use a phaser.
Yeah.
Not
exactly.
everybody can use a fuzz wah.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah,
That's kind
definitely.
of a personal thing for us. We like that more than most other people, I'd say.
Oh, for sure.
So that comes into play. So okay, Helix Phaser by TC Electronic comes in at number 5.
Okay, number 6, between the Dirty Robot and the Cliff Burton.
Again, going with what we were saying about how we kind of have our niche and we really like the drives. I'm going to have to go with the Dirty Robot ahead because I feel like it's more across the board usable for people.
That's a good point.
We'll put that at number 6 then.
Okay, number 6, Dirty Robot by Digitech. So naturally, by process of elimination, the Cliff Burton Walk comes in at number 7.
Number 7, which is all right with me. It's still respectable. It landed on our list, and I'm happy about it.
It's in the 10.
That's good.
That's all that matters. Now, this is where it gets fun.
It gets real fun.
It gets real fun.
Oh, man. We have the shootouts now.
So let's do this. Out of the 3 that I picked here, the scr-di, the flanger, and the pitchfork, what would you say is your favorite?
Pitchfork.
Pitchfork. Okay.
Definitely. It's on my board. You know, these two are both real nice, usable things, but personally, the pitchfork is more usable for me.
Yes.
And it's more fun.
Okay, and then out of yours, you have the Ditto, the Delay, and the Terra Echo. I'm going to have to go Ditto.
I agree.
Because again, it's another tool.
Yeah, and it's
you can
amazing.
use.
Like, it just makes it 4 bases instead of just 1.
Okay, so which one's 8 and which one's 9? I'm going to say 8 for the Ditto, 9 for the pitchfork.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I didn't want to impose and say 8 for the Ditto because I know that it's kind of weighted towards me. So
no offense, but my pedal pick is better than your pedal pick. Okay, so at number 8, the Ditto Looper by TC Electronic, and number 9, the Electro-Harmonix Pitchfork.
Wonderful.
We will try to somehow fit these.
We're getting there. Luckily, we got one mini pedal, so that helps in space. Look at that.
Okay, so out of the remaining 4, who's fighting for the number 10 spot?
Okay, so personally, even though they're both my picks, I'm gonna have to, put both of these down because they are cool, but I don't think they match up to what we have over in your hands. So these are retired. I'm sorry, boss. You make amazing things, but not today.
Terra Echo, I'm just gonna be fair, would have come in at 11.
I believe it. I'm cool with that.
It's such a great tone.
It is amazing.
It is great.
Super fun.
Okay, so it's really down between these 2 big boxes. You have traditional and wacky tones in one box.
Always fun.
And you have yet another tool that does give you drive, but is very useful. We have a number of tools.
We do have a number of tools, but we also have a number of modulations.
Yes.
And I'm thinking the only reason I want to go with the Ampeg FC RDI is because it's the only pedal of its kind that we have lined up here, whereas we do have another, what do we have here, that's like the phaser, lines up with a flanger and a chorus. In my opinion, they're all real similar.
Yeah,
so you can kind of
they're kind of like the
similarly.
cousins of pedals.
Exactly. Whereas we don't have anything that's a real preamp type thing on the board, so I'm going to have to vote for the Ampeg, number 10.
I can agree with that. At
Cool.
number 10, the Ampeg scr-di.
Okay, so that concludes our top 10 list of 2016. We appreciate the support from you guys. It's just so much more than we ever could have asked for. We really thank you for everything, and we thank you for watching and all that kind of stuff. And this would not be possible without you guys. So again, thank you so much. So I'm Will with Basic Gear Review.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time.